Hey guys, I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. My name is Steve Morrow, and this is a little bit different approach, but I really wanted to show you what I really know about the Atari and probably how I've lived it, and basically the Commodore 64, you name it, all those computer systems, I've never left it. So this video is a response to somebody who said something on my channel recently that, that wow, you have such an incredible passion, I don't have a lot of patience with stuff like that. I really wanted to, a little bit tired from getting all this stuff together, I really wanted to show you how much passion I really do have about this. And if you're looking for a channel where you can find 8-bit information for the Atari and the Commodore 64, then man, you don't want to look no further, because I like to be the go-to guy for all this, and I'm going to prove it to you in a little bit here by showing you almost everything I own with these systems. And it might be kind of shocking to you, maybe a little obsessive, but I just wanted to be honest and show you that I do. I have almost everything you're seeing in the background is my Atari and my Commodore 64 kind of piled together here. You can't see it, but on the floor here I have a stack of Atari magazines that I have kept since the 1980s. And you might now notice this, but in the corner here, you guys seen this on the Atari, but this is the Max 65 cartridge. And also, I purchased the Action cartridge a while back, so yeah, I'm a fanatic. And this one I've showed you before. This is the Final 2 cartridge, Final 3 cartridge for the Commodore 64, which allowed me to do a lot of my hacking and stuff. And some of you might recognize this or might not know this, but this is actually a disc. I forget what they call it, but basically it takes and allows you to take like a disc. Let me find a disc here. I'm trying to pull it out of a pile here. This is a 5 1/4 inch disc for those who don't know. These were common on the 8-bit computers back in the day. Commodore and both Atari used them. And I know it's called as a disc notcher. So if you had a disc and it had what was called double density, where you could actually use the other side, but it was still being protected. You would use this disc and just basically insert it like you're seeing me do right here. You can get it in there. I have a little label coming off on this one. And you kind of position it like that. I'm not going to do it, but if you press this down here, it would format the other side of the disc so that you could use both sides. So I've had that for years. And like I said, I can go over a lot of stuff. I did want to kind of show you some of the stuff. And YouTube is also coming up with something now where you can create your own trailers. And this would be one of the trailers I'd like to probably put out there, maybe just do a test video on it and tell people, if you're looking for Commodore 64 and Atari content and programming tutorials, basic and assembly language, and want to know a guy who has passion, then you found the right place. And I'm going to prove it to you. Okay, so everything you're seeing in the background here, I'll kind of move out of the way here a little bit, is everything, almost everything I own with the Atari and the Commodore 64. There's books mixed up here with the Atari and the Commodore 64, some of you might recognize. There's the map in the Atari book here. This one is used for display list interrupts. I think I might have showed this one on my video channel before. And obviously there's the map in the Commodore 64, which I put up there more recently. Machine language routines for the Commodore 64, that's a cool book. You've got stuff like the Atari collection. I didn't show this one before, but this book is really falling apart. I love this book back in the days, which is why it's falling apart, but it's the Commodore 64 reference manual. And there is another reference manual I wanted to show you if I can find it in this stack of everything here. Oh, here it is. A good friend of mine back in the 80s gave me this book too. I think this one is the Anatomy of the Commodore 64. Let me see if it has a name on it. I lost the cover to it, so I don't know the name of it is. It's on the pages here, but this has tons and tons of stuff about the Commodore 64. If you look here, you can see it's got the instruction set and everything in here for like the assembly language. It's got the disassembly where you could basically do anything you want with your Commodore 64. This is the go-to book. He told me this is like the Commodore Bible, and it's really good for electronics people because it teaches you about all the schematics of the Commodore 64, and just an incredible wealth of information. I won't try to bore you too much, but that's a pretty darn cool book. Obviously, you see other stuff here. I've got the Atari, Atari Basic. Some of you might recognize this one of my favorite and first Atari books I ever purchased, Atari Graphics. Awesome, awesome guide. You've got both the reference for the Commodore 64 and the Atari side by side there. I own those. I showed this one before, Machine Language for Beginners. Awesome, awesome book. This isn't a review, I just wanted to show you the stuff I had. This is the Peaks and Pokes for the Commodore 64. That's a cool book. Here's another manual for the C64. I've showed that one before. And this one's falling apart. This was my original Commodore 64 guide, and I have showed this before, like with the sprite examples and everything. Awesome, awesome resources. And for those who are Lodestar people, let me pull those out of this mess over here. These you're looking at here are Lodestar discs. A little closer. These are all the discs I own, and these are all Lodestar. I don't know if you can see that, but these are all Lodestar discs here. Every one of them. I almost own the entire set, which is like several years of disc publishing for those guys. I came pretty close to owning all of them, but I never really got there. But something I did something I did retain in those days. Oh, before I do that, let me show you. This is interesting too. Here's one of the original. I think this was the disc subscription. It was actually one of the orders. I still kept that for the soft disc publishing. Now that thing's pretty freaking old. See, it has a date on it. As I print the date, this still got the 800 number on it. Right there, even tells how much they are. They're 5 quarter-inch discs for $75. I think that's what I paid a year for their membership, which is very cheap in those days because you would get 2 single discs. You would get 2 single discs double both sides from that Lodestar Publishing Group. In Shreveport, Louisiana, you would get that every month in the mail, and it would be packed with programs. Just tons of awesome information, and I have all those discs for other information. So if you want to know if there's stuff I could teach you about the Commodore 64, it is hidden in those discs. And everything, if I ever want to pull it out, is in those discs. Everything I ever want to know, even from my own deepest secrets, that I'm still trying to figure out with fine scrolling, and I want to learn more things about raster interrupts and stuff like that, it's hidden because there's somebody out there that wrote about it. I just haven't had time to research it all, but there's tons and tons of wealth in Lodestar. It's just amazing. What it is it's a massive, in those days it was a massive contributors coming together to basically sell their programs, because Lodestar would pay them up from $350 up to $500 for their software. So tons of games, tons of utilities, music programs, everything. So anyways, I know I'm getting off a little bit off base here, but I wanted to show you another thing. Here's the guide I actually have for the final cartridge, but I wanted to show you this. Put this aside. These were the Lodestar letters back in the days, and I kept most of these too, so these are all my Lodestar letters. Those are pretty ancient. Very hard to get hold of kind of stuff these days, and I have a whole stack of them. I have another whole stack here. So again, this is all Commodore 64 information. So if you ask me a question and I want to know something and I want to look it up, heck, this is my freaking internet for the C64. I already own that stuff. So. Trying to keep this consistent without going rampant on you, but I wanted to show you all the software. I did show you this is the Lodestar stack here, and then this one here. I think this was another Lodestar stack I had. It's so freaking hot in this place tonight. These are also all the other Lodestar discs I own. These are all Lodestar here. These are the original ones back in the days. So Lodestar again. More Lodestar. It's not a whole stack of Lodestar. Listen, I own most of them. These are also, they're all squished together, but these are also Lodestar discs. These are all soft discs. They used to be called soft disc, and later they changed the name to Lodestar after soft disc. I think soft disc left the company and turned it over to Fender Tucker and Jeff Jones, and they started producing the issues out monthly. Okay, now for those who want to know about the games and stuff, I went on eBay one time at auction. I won all these different games. So these are all different games in here. Like here's Skate or Die, right there. You can see that or not. That's Skate or Die, Marble Madness. Even the Three Stooges was on here. So there's just so many things. Let me see what other discs I still have here. Well, these are my regular discs back here. I knocked something over here. I'll probably never get this stuff all together like this again because I made a mess just pulling it all out, but I wanted to show it to you. And to answer that guy's question, yes, I have a deep passion for this stuff. These are all of my own original. Most of this is my software that I wrote. So I probably got about 20 to 30 different discs of my own software. I did have one video I put up on my channel where I showed you some of the basic programs I worked on. Here's some of the other games, like here's a Technopop. That was a pretty cool one back in the days. You can see that or not, but that was pretty cool game. Speed King, another nice one. Test Drive, people remember that one. This was a really favorite for the Commodore 64. Dragon's Lair, awesome, awesome, awesome. There's another Skate or Die, so I'll probably end up selling one of these since I have copies of these too. Obviously there's my Double Dragon. These are the original issues. Back to the Future 2, awesome game. This is Batman. I did have that one displayed before. I could just keep going on and on, but there's Super Huey. There's even Superman. Right there's the original Superman disc. Predator, that was a pretty cool game back in the days. Outrun. And this was pretty much probably everybody's favorite. Ghostbusters. There's another Dragon's Lair disc. And all these in the back. This is another company that produced games back in the day known as Solid Gold. And they were compact with tons of programs too. Games, and I'm saying programs, I mean games, guys, so lots of games. Here's the original assembler. This is for people who like to write assembly language. This is what I wrote my first game with the assembler development system on the Commodore 64 back in the days. And everybody probably remembers this one, but these were the test demo discs that Commodore released with, I think with the C64 back in the days, you would get those discs, if I recall. But yeah, like I said, there's just tons and tons of games here, and just the whole point of this is to really show you, as I have everything I need to give you guys what you're looking for in due time, of course. These are also packed with games. I got these one time in a store not too far down the street that I actually used to sell, believe it or not, 8-bit computers like the Atari and the Commodore 64, pretty darn cheap. I mean, it was like one of those, what do you call it, like discount stores. And I used to go in there one time and I bought a whole stack of discs. I think I probably bought these for like a couple bucks. I mean, stuff like this today would be worth so much more. These are just loaded with games. I actually own 4 different ones of those. There's another stack right here. I'm not going to go over all the games, but there's just tons and tons of games in there. And there's another one. I'll be running out of room here. This one's got the Dallas Quest on it, and just many other different games. Again, these are all packed with games. Maybe I'll review those sometimes if you're interested. But yeah. You guys can probably see most of this here. I'm going to have to move it around to show you some of. These are obviously all the different kinds of joysticks. You guys have seen this one recently because I've bought these recently on eBay. And then these were the original joysticks I had. This is, I think this is the Wilco's, I remember. They weren't so great, but here's one I kept for years. And if you look at this more carefully, you can even see that the cord is kind of damaged, so it never really works, but it's a really old, this is the actual Wilco's. I think these were the, yeah, these were the Wilco's or whatever, disc joysticks back in the days. It's pretty soft, it has like a rubber coating on it, but it doesn't work anymore. This one, this is the Point Master. I never owned one of these, but I got this on eBay. I wanted to show you that's another one I owned. I'm looking for the Atari ones. They're around here somewhere. There they are. The original Atari. Everybody's going to remember these from the Atari 2600. There's the original Atari 2600 joysticks. There's 2 of those. Now that we're on the Atari stuff, there's the the other one. Who remembers these? Who remembers these babies? These are paddles back in the days. These were really common, and they still are common for like the Atari 2600 systems. I actually own 2 sets of those. I forget where the other one is. Right here on the floor, actually. The one's right here. So there's another one. Yeah, let's see. My disk drives are right here. I'll put these 2 side by side. I'll show you. This is the Atari underneath. This is the Atari 1040 right there. And this is the Commodore 64 1541-2. This was the second drive they introduced back in the days, and it replaced the original one, which is right here. The one I more recently purchased off of eBay. The original 1541. So that. Now we're on to the computers. Let's finish up the components first. Here's the Commodore cassette system. For some reason, I don't think this one is working anymore, if I can recall or not, but what they did is back in those days, they just basically, you could take a cassette and you could record information on it, like a standard cassette, and put it in there, and it would record information. Commodore would record like your games, you could load games and stuff like that from it, and I used to save a lot of my programs. Not on this, because I never owned this back in the days, since I bought this on eBay a couple years ago. But I actually had the Atari, the original Atari cassette recorder that I parted with it years ago, and I actually regret that. And here's another joystick. So I've probably got like maybe 6 different joysticks there. Let's see, I showed you all the books. Now let's see, here's some more of my, these are some more of my game discs. Just the different kinds of, these are all my own software and programs I wrote. And a lot of them I typed in from programs I used to go to like the libraries back in the days before they had the internet, and used to check out tons of books on the Atari and Commodore 64. Mostly like Compute Gazette and stuff like that were pretty common back in the days. I showed these ones before, but I wanted to show you them again. Since I was so in love with the Atari back in the days, I bought almost every single issue they had of the Analog magazine. And I've got a case here that's full of stuff, even the Antique magazine, which was real popular. And here's another one that got started with the Commodore 64 back in the days. I showed these before, but I'll show them again, I guess. Try to stick them up, line them up side by side here. That's the Commodore Run magazine, pretty popular and rarity these days. I showed this one before. This one was heavy. I bought that more recently. That's a Commodore 64 dot matrix printer. I want to show some videos where I can print out stuff and introduce it to you, but right now I haven't been able to find any stores that actually have the paper for this, so I had to order that online. I said, you guys sell the what's called the tractor feed paper? Like went to Office Max and they said they didn't have the right size, so I guess we're not going to see that for a while. Other components. I bought this several years ago on eBay. I can't remember the name of it, but you can plug this into the Atari computer. I'll show it to you a little closer here. You see it's got like a little board on it. And it would allow you to transfer your Atari programs directly into a PC. You can see it's got like a little plug-in for the Atari. And yet on the back here, it's got a plug-in that plugs directly into like a PC component. I don't know what they call that plug-in there, but it's kind of similar to the printer plug-in. Unfortunately, I never got it to work properly. I had to buy the software, and they wanted another $60 because this thing cost me $60, and they wanted another $60 for the software, so I never experimented with it. But yeah, I have that. Where's the Atari computer? I'm looking all over for it here. You can see I'm getting lost in all this stuff. There's just so much stuff here. Oh, it's right here in front of me. Okay, so here's my computers. Obviously, you guys have seen both of these, but there's the Atari right there, Atari 800 XL, and there's the Commodore 64. You may also notice, if you look in the background, there's another Commodore 64 hiding under the books there. So I actually have 2 of those. I bought another one because one of the other keyboard, well, one of the keys was missing on this one, and Unfortunately, the springs got damaged, so I went out and bought another one. And I thought something was wrong with the unit, because I found out later it was just my video cord. So I've actually owned 2 of those now. They're both working. I'm not planning to part with them or anything, but I wanted to show them to you. Getting back to the Atari, here's some other books on the Atari. This is the Atari Basic, and another one for like the graphics they did. And showed you these. I'll try to hold these up, but there's tons and tons of them here. You guys probably didn't even notice this, but I own a stack of DOS discs here. These are all the Atari DOS discs. I plan to sell these very recently. They're all, I'll test them to make sure that they work, but I bought a whole stack of them one time when they were running. There was a company I found online that was selling them by the, what do you call it, the quantity or whatever, and I just bought a bunch of them for the quantity. And also, another thing I bought with the Atari back in the days, I'm not going to be able to hold all of them in my hands, but I'll show most of the video here. And let's see if I can get them all in here, just to show you. This was a pretty cool, these are all Atari discs right here. So you see that there's 10 of them here. This was a company called Space. They're called Space whatever. And they produced, I'll show you one here. They produced a monthly subscription and had, these are loaded with Atari programs, both basic and assembly language. And I have, you see a whole stack of them here. So I never really got around to showing you all that, but I wanted, hopefully one day get into that. Here's obviously a serial cable for the Atari. Trying to figure out how to move some of this. You probably didn't even notice this down on the ground here, but I'll hold it up to you. But this is the original Commodore monitor. This is one of the older, I think this was a CRT monitor. It actually produced both the regular color and the monochrome, which was basically the green. I think it was on green on white or whatever they had it in those days. But this thing just no longer works. I can't show it to you. Got damaged. I don't know why I never parted with it, but I couldn't part with it. I think I paid like $5 for it too back in the days. Again, at that same shop down the street, that was that discount store, which they came around before eBay and all that, and that's where I used to buy a lot of my stuff, and that's why I own a lot of this stuff too. A lot of it I kept through the years. Moving stuff around here and dropping stuff on the floor. You won't get to see a video like this again for a while, so I'm so hoping this records properly. It'll drive me nuts if it doesn't, so I'm going to move all these on the floor to show you something else here. Not be able to hold this up. I think I'll probably move the camera down to show you this one. Maybe I could just pull a few of them out or something, but I've showed these before, but I own almost the entire IIc magazine series. I got a deal on it one time, I think it was back in 1991, they were selling the entire subscription for, I think it was like $200 or something like that, and I jumped on it. You know, this would be worth so much more today. I imagine one day if I ever decide to die, you know, leave this world or whatever, I could just part with it and just pass that money on to my children or something if I ever have children. But here's some more. Yeah, here's some other stuff I wanted to show you. I was talking about this one earlier. These are the Compute magazines, were very common, and these were stock loaded with Atari, Commodore 64, even Apple and Amiga programs. They actually covered a lot of different things. And they had games in there, and they'd run them side by side, and they'd take like one game, and they'd show it on all the different platforms. So that was pretty cool. I used to really get into that. See, this is all, I showed this one before, but I guess I'll show it again. Let me go back down here. After, well, this is originally, these are ST magazines, but before IIc had liquidated, they were still running their games and all their programs in the back of the magazine, because eventually they had their own magazine, and I guess as ST started dominating the scene, IIc started losing a lot of money. Obviously, the Atari 8-bit systems were not as more popular since the 16-bit systems were, you know, dominated them in those days. So they eventually had to move everything to the back magazine because as ST started to grow, the 8-bit unfortunately started to shrink. So they ended up liquidating somewhere. Now I think I had liked it, and I probably owned their last issue with that. I wanted to show you some of the earliest Antic magazines too. I don't know if I showed these before, but these are some of the very earliest Antic magazines that were ever produced. I never got the #1, but this one is March 1983. Yeah, sure. I hold it up to you and show it to you. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it might be hard for the camera to grab it. Right there, you can see it, 1983. So that was one of the originals. And these are also more right here. These are 1983 issues. So very, very old. And I just have stacks of those here. This is not to brag or anything, this is just to really show you that I'm serious about my passion. I'm going to move the camera down and show you that whole stack here, for those who may have wanted to see it. These are all the magazines I own for the Atari. So you can just see tons of Atari wealth information right there. So I almost don't even need Google these days because I own so much stuff. But, I mean, Google is still awesome, you can still learn things from it, but I think, you know, hopefully I can serve and insert my 2 cents in there somewhere from what I've gathered and learned over the years. But yeah, let's see if there's anything else I didn't cover here, but I think you get the point. You know that there's another joystick. I just now found another one in the pack, so I think it's probably like 7. But yeah, that's pretty much this channel. I know it's a mess and everything. I just wanted to lay it out to show you guys. This is all the Atari stuff. Commodore stuff, combined it together, you know. And in due time, as I get more time available to me, I'll keep producing this content to you in these videos, and I hope one day to even, you know, merge this into my website, which is at www.programmermind.com. I finally decided to set up a C64 section. I debated that and finally put it up on the front page, and I'm going to kind of test it out and see how that goes. But yeah, we're going to eventually hopefully get all that up there. I want to have a whole C64, maybe eventually an Atari 8-bit section where you could read basic programming, assembly language, and everything you want to know. Let's not kill this generation. My passion runs so deep, it's like a river for this stuff. I don't know why I'm a fanatic. My ex-wife used to say I was a fanatic over it, and you can see why. It never left me. It wasn't something I could ever part with because I believed in it so hard. I just believed that. I don't know how to explain it because it was my generation, I guess. It's just like if you had your generation, maybe you liked to play the guitar or something. Back in your generation, you were good at baseball, or you liked working on cars or whatever it was. It's just your passion. It runs deep in you. It's not something somebody can give you. It's just something you are, you know. So this is who I am. And that's why I wanted to show you. So I hope you enjoyed this messy video, but go ahead and send me your comments and everything, you know. If you're definitely interested in this stuff, I highly recommend you thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe because, you know, I'll give it to you. I mean, I'll find the time. I'm working on, at the same time, I've mentioned this before in my comments, but I'm working on that C64 game still, so trying to plan it out. And I'll eventually probably merge it into an assembly language. I want to mix it basic and assembly language so it's not too difficult for people. And at the same time, I'm still going to try to put together a Commodore 64 newsletter just to kind of show you some of the tidbits and tips and stuff like that, and tricks you can do with your Commodore 64, stuff like that. So yeah, I just wanted to show you, trying to see if there's anything else I missed, but I think I pretty much slammed it. I probably didn't show you this one, but these were the original switch boxes too for the Ataris. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.